Welcome to Global Tax Talks Tax in 60 Seconds. I'm Will Morris, and here are some things to watch out for in the coming week. First, despite my confident prediction last week about the imminent release of Pillar 2 guidance, as of the time of this filming, it still hasn't come out. I'll cover that next week, together with the expected to be released terms of reference for the new UN Tax Convention. Instead, let me turn this week to one of the biggest players in the tax world, to India, which has now wrapped up its election. Contrary to the exit polls, the ruling party lost its absolute majority and will enter into coalition negotiations. So what will this mean for tax, especially as it applies to the OECD and UN? Well, the UN process is forging ahead, as already noted, but the OECD pillars are more interesting. First, it was rumoured before the election that we could expect to see action on the elements of Pillar 2 from India before the end of 2024, most likely an IIR and/or a QDMTT. It seems apparently unlikely that the election results will change that. On Pillar 1, I also understand that progress has been made on some of India's main issues with Amount A. This means that India is now more likely to sign the Multilateral Convention when it's open for signature. One big question remaining, though, is what happens with Amount B, because that's where the US comes into the equation. Well, interestingly, it also seems that India might become more comfortable with Amount B. Why? Well, the UK official who co-chairs the inclusive framework gave some clues on that recently, and this relates to a potential two-phase Amount B. The official said that in Phase 1, starting in 2025, countries can elect into Amount B. In Phase 2, Amount B would become mandatory as the US has demanded. But here's the kicker: only once the MLC comes into force. So, as I said last week, if the two-phase approach works for India, perhaps it also allows the US administration to sign, hoping that that will put pressure, including through business, on the US Senate to ratify the treaty in order to get that mandatory Amount B. For what it's worth, I think that fundamentally misreads the way the US Senate operates generally, as well as its specific views on Pillar 1. But we'll see. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and come back next week so that you stay global tax ready.